Charles, this is a very important episode today. Historic. It's so important I got a new shirt. But this is the first time we've ever had a Charles Ortel, John Cullen mashup. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. It's so wonderful to have both of you guys.
Thanks for arranging, Jason, and great to have you on, John.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you both. Thank you, Charles, for inviting me to join you on a Wednesday. It's great to be here.
Well, it's I think quite fortuitous that you had the time, and thanks to your excellent work, especially with Jason. I thought of doing this because I saw a story that somebody was questioning whether Hunter was actually tied to Metabiota, that company. And so I punched that into Google and I got search results, which were all from PolitiFact and the Washington Post saying it's, four Pinocchios, there's no tie. And I remember that you, John, with Jason had done an historic show on, I think it was February 25th, 2022, just as the invasion or the special military operation began. And I thought, let's go right to the source and let's debunk the debunkers and let's educate as many people as possible about what you said back then and answer any questions that the people may have about the quality of your data. Because I think, and your findings, because they were important then. We've wasted a lot of time, money, and treasure around the world in this special military operation. Biden and his team refuse to entertain any reasonable discussion about why the Russians are mad, why they're doing what they're doing. And unless they do so, all we're looking at is death and destruction, first in Ukraine and probably across Europe and the wider world. So let's get back into what you told the world February 25th, 2022, and the documents that you can now share with us, and just really take it away. As you started this.
One thing we've got to say is that we're pretty sensitive to the fact that this stuff is frequently struck from YouTube, and we're encouraging people to join us in the First Amendment Forum. We're having a super duper simulcast today. We're on the Sunday with Charles YouTube channel. We're on the John Cullen Investigates YouTube channel. We're on the John E. Hoover YouTube channel to let everybody know that we're going to be in the First Amendment Forum just 15 minutes from now to go fully in depth on some of this stuff, because we expect, just as Google has removed factual information presented by Project Veritas, we don't want to fall victim to that. So people are going to be able to join us on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And of course, I've been touting a lot lately, and thank you to all the people who have joined us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. All of these are great ways to help us keep on bringing you information without getting slammed and kicked off of YouTube. John, fill us in on what we're going to be talking about in the First Amendment Forum.
Well, I guess it was Thursday, the 24th of February, that the invasion began. And you and I had a show, Jason and I had a show scheduled. We do a regular show on Fridays. And so this was the first day in America where we woke up and the war was on. And so that night we had a show, and we typically would be talking about COVID. And so I figured, well, let's go to the source. Most of the work that I do, Charles, when I was looking into COVID and stuff, I go to the CDC's website and I go to the WHO, so the World Health Organization and the CDC. And so I use, definitive data, or I'm using Johns Hopkins University's data. So by using definitive sources, it makes my costume a little less ridiculous, right? So
nothing ridiculous about it.
Yeah, I think now with the ad hominem attacks, people were starting to wish that they had been wearing masks and such. So anyway, I went to the U.S. Embassy's website. And when I got to the U.S. Embassy's website in Ukraine, so we have a U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, and I went to their website. And what I saw on the website, okay, this is interesting. There's this biological threat reduction program thing on the website at the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine. And I'm reading through what it says. And on the right-hand side are a bunch of links, a bunch of hyperlinks. But as I click on them, there's nothing there. And when I saw the pathogen asset control system, I was, whoa. That sounds like something I might have built once upon a time. So I start clicking on these things, and there's nothing behind them. It's coming up as 404 not found. So I used a technique that Jason and I use all the time, which is something they call the time machine, the internet time machine, archive.org. And the Wayback Machine. I call it time machine. For me, it's like going back in time. And it's effectively what it does. They call it the Wayback Machine. It's archive.org. And what it does is it crawls the internet and takes snapshots of websites repeatedly over time. And it archives that. And so what I was able to do was put in the website address of our U.S. Embassy in Ukraine and effectively go back in time a week when those links weren't dead. And when I clicked on it, that's when I found what you see in front of you now, which are these documents that confirm that the United States of America and Canada, by the way, right? Isn't Canada and Sweden mentioned in this one? Yeah, Canada, Sweden, Ukraine. So we're not alone in this. But this verifies funding that went to the labs. Now, when we listened to, I guess it was Victoria Nuland testifies. I guess was it Rubio that asked her the pointed question, right? And I think we have that video footage. So when we go to the patron-only show, Jason, I think it's important to look at that. Charles, you've seen that, right? You've seen the footage between Rubio and Victoria Nuland. She effectively confirms that there's labs. And then we get into the semantics of, are these labs making, Flintstone vitamins or bioweapons? And, there's this continuum somewhere between Flintstone vitamins and bioweapons. But these are the receipts. I mean, this documents the investment down to the dollar by laboratory, Charles. I mean, it tells you exactly how many dollars per lab. And there was a common thread in here that was very spooky, which was a company called Black and Veatch, Veatch. And it seemed like they were the contractor on many of these things. And so I just kind of stumbled into this, to tell you the truth. I mean, this hasn't really been my area of expertise. Like Lee Stranahan knows a whole bunch about the whole Russia-Ukraine relationship thing. It's not really my area. I stumbled into this, found these documents, figured, well, these look important, and I archived them.
Good work.
John, just quickly back on the Victoria Nuland, Marco Rubio thing. Not only does she confirm that there are U.S. biological facilities, I'll ask both of you guys, it's my impression that she seems pretty nervous during that testimony. She's not, she's hiding.
We need to be careful what we say here. So right now we're on YouTube, and what you just said could be misinterpreted by somebody. What Victoria Nuland said is that the U.S. has funded laboratories in Ukraine. There's no U.S. labs there. These aren't U.S. labs.
Correct.
These are Ukraine labs with U.S. money.
You're right. But this is so the semantics.
But it's real important that we're specific here on YouTube, right? So,
you're right.
So what she said was, no, we've sent money over there, and these receipts are here. So we know Tulsi Gabbard covered this. We know Tucker Carlson covered this. They were lambasted for it. Right. But what we'll talk about on the patron-only show is, what has Sergei Lavrov been saying? Again, if the press doesn't cover this stuff and just doesn't want to hear it, well, it's like a tree falling in the woods and there's nobody there because the press refuses to go.
Right.
Now, one thing I wanted to point out to you, Charles, I was looking at the Black and Veatch website earlier just in preparation of this, and they're telling us on their own website that 100 plus years serving the United States government.
Yeah. 100 years of fucking up.
Yeah, exactly.
I think when we my interest in doing these shows with Jason has been in exposing fraud, and to do that, you necessarily get into politics inside and outside the country. One thing I believe passionately is that Americans, wherever they may fit along the political spectrum, it's a small evil group who believes it's a good thing to use U.S. taxpayer money to violate treaties that have been enforced for decades that prohibit the use of banned weapons. Very few people would agree that that's a good idea. And I just think it is despicable that the mainstream press has not gone in and consulted you, John and Jason, and asked, themselves why it's taken so long to get to the place you were on February 25th, 2022. If we had serious people in the government, they would have gone to you and they would have said, "Now, wait a minute, does Russia have a point here? Who has been managing this negotiation over Ukraine? Are there conflicts of interest involving the Biden family and other political families? Do we really want to be the country that is engaged in perpetual war?" I mean, these are big questions that the mainstream media is not answering, and for which answers are available.
I was, quite frankly, I was skeptical about connecting Hunter Biden to this at the beginning. I knew about the Burisma thing, but I was skeptical. And then we got into the Metabiota thing, because Metabiota is funded by Rosemont Seneca. And we're going to take a closer look at that when we go to the patron only show, because that's the connection here between Biolabs and Hunter Biden. And it's like, who would have thought that? But we've got the documents. We have the documents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't Hunter Biden a biological weapon himself?
Exactly.
In many ways, and I think we have the photos of that, in fact.
Exactly. Well, listen, we're just about out of time here on YouTube, and our chat is being disrupted by the usual suspects. And I think that's happening in addition to them being psychotically obsessed with antagonizing me. They're doing that because this is dangerous information, dangerous to those that would want to destroy the United States of America. And they're doing everything they can to prevent us from bringing this information to the public. But the individual viewer sponsors that have helped keep Crowdsource the Truth alive during all these years that these really, truly annoying people have been doing nothing but trying to stop us. I don't understand who could possibly think this is a good idea, the destruction of the United States of America, but they are there. We'll be back in just 5 minutes. People are going to be able to join us on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth to really stick it to the stupid Mario Brothers. We'll be back with Charles Ortel in the First Amendment Forum and the historic first time ever special guest John Cullen with Charles. We're going to go into great depth on all of these documents and details. Don't miss that. Join us in just 5 minutes. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.